I go into work all the time, and I hear people say, "What will my donors think?" I hear that phrase.
During the last debate, Pete Buttigieg was called out over his wine cave fundraisers with wealthy donors. And in response to that, he cried, "Purity tests. Oh, it's such a, why are you issuing these purity tests for us as candidates? Let me just raise tons of money from wealthy donors in a wine cave. It has no impact on me at all." No, wealthy donors, massive corporations, executives at these companies, they just give lots of money because they just like me, not because they expect any return on investment. Now, during a rally in Venice, California, that 14,000 people attended, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this is a Bernie rally, I should have said that. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was there to introduce Bernie Sanders, and she indirectly here calls out Pete Buttigieg over this idea of purity tests.
And by the way, for anyone who accuses us for instituting purity tests, it's called having values. It's called giving a damn. It's called having standards for your conduct, to not be funded by billionaires, but to be funded by the people, which is different. And I can tell you, as a member of Congress, when people say that there is no difference between being funded by a handful of wealthy people and being funded by small grassroots donations, let me tell you something. I go into work all the time, and I hear people say, "What will my donors think?" I hear that phrase. And I hear and I see that billionaires get members of Congress on speed dial and waitresses don't. Okay? There's a difference. And a candidate that is accountable to small dollar donors is fundamentally differently aligned than anybody else.
So, of course, I freaking love this. This is directly, I shouldn't say directly, but indirectly calling out Pete Buttigieg and anybody else that talks about purity tests because you're actually standing up for people and standing against the powerful, standing against wealthy interests, corporate interests, the political establishment. I mean, Pete Buttigieg is just eating it all up. He's just accepting money from everywhere, and he actually expects you to think that's not going to impact him. Look, even if you go in there with the the purest of intentions, it's just human nature. It is a fact that your environment impacts you. The company you keep impacts you. If you're going to wealthy or to high dollar fundraisers with wealthy donors, you're going to take on their worldview because that's the company you keep. You talk to these people, they talk to you about their problems. You take on their worldview, their perspective that fundamentally then disconnects you from the reality that the other 99% of people face. So again, even if you go in there with pure intentions, it doesn't matter. The company you keep, it's human nature. This is why Bernie Sanders has completely removed himself, or I shouldn't say removed himself. He's never put himself in that position of meeting with wealthy donors because he understands that it has an impact, because it's human nature for it to have an impact, because you want to relate to people. You want to be kind to people. So you're surrounded by these wealthy donors, these executives, these people that are, benefiting from the status quo, benefiting from tax cuts for the rich. You take on that worldview and your perspective changes, your policy changes. So I love that AOC laid this out, and also the fact that she spoke to her own experience about she hears people say, "What will my donors think?" I mean, it's pretty much exactly what we imagined is happening in Congress. It is, in fact, happening. I want to share one more clip because after AOC spoke, Bernie Sanders spoke, and he also appeared to get in on the action here, speaking on the same issue.
We don't have a super PAC. We don't want a super PAC. We don't go to rich people's wine caves. This is a campaign of the working class of this country, by the working class, and for the working class.
I love it. This is a real grassroots movement. This is why Bernie's campaign slogan is not me, us, because it isn't really about him. He is the vessel which with a lot of this can be accomplished, but it's about the grassroots movement. It's about these small dollar donors. It's about the volunteers. It's about the door knockers. It's about the phone bankers. I mean, that's what this campaign is actually about. It's about the American people. It's about standing up for other people, even if you don't suffer from the same issues that they suffer from. Like maybe you have great health care, but you understand that healthcare should be a right, should be guaranteed to everyone, should be free at the point of use. So you stand up for Medicare for all. And that's just one example. So this is why this campaign for me is so empowering, even as somebody who doesn't live in the country, because what I see here is what other countries should be emulating. This is what political movements in other countries should be looking to if we want to enact a similar kind of change where you have a government that actually represents people over the interests of wealthy donors. So, I mean, it's all here. And as I said a million times, Bernie has the most individual donors by far, the most volunteers by far, the most donations by far, averaging $18 a piece. This truly is a man of the people. He has the 40-year record. He has the platform. And on top of that, he is the most electable. You put an independent, a lifelong independent senator against Donald Trump, you bring out tons of independents, tons of non-voters, people that have been disillusioned by the two-party system. Bernie Sanders has a history of speaking up against the political establishment, the corporate establishment, the media establishment. And because he's an independent, he has no attachments to either party. So he's willing to call out the status quo in both parties. He's willing to call out the Democratic Party as he's been doing, as he's done in the past. So you have someone like this run for president against Donald Trump. You are going to bring out so many people who have not voted before or voted in a while because they actually see that Bernie Sanders can, along with this movement, bring about real change.